Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we have to go over the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's been a tough season for them. Again, another season of failure, unable to get past the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been a rough run there in Toronto. We're going to go over what the Leafs have to do this summer. What went wrong during their playoff series? We're going to go over that today. So the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of those teams that just, honestly, as an Islander fan who hates John Tavares pretty much, I have to say, it is kind of, it's kind of, depressing at this point. It's like beating a dead horse. This is a team that just cannot get things going. And unfortunately, I think it's mentally in their head at this point because they just cannot shake this getting out of the first round thing. And I'm going to make some predictions for what I think they could do. But at the end of the day, everybody's saying, all right, well, they're going to, Dubas is gone. Head coach is gone. Shanahan's gone. Keefe's gone, Dubas, all those guys are gone. I don't think so. I don't think that's where you need to go. But it's like, what do you do? It keeps happening over and over again. It's like I said, it's like comical at this point. And you can't even say it's the Bruins because they've lost to the Blue Jackets in a qualifier series just to get to the playoffs. They couldn't win that, and they couldn't beat Tampa now. So it's not just the Boston Bruins now that just beat them up. It's whoever. It doesn't matter, right? And when I look at this team, what that tells me is they are not built for the playoffs. Let me say that again. They are not built for the playoffs. Kevin, what do you mean by that? Unfortunately, the Maple Leafs, the way Kyle Dubas structured this team from the beginning, he brings in, so the core four is Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares. Even with how they played this playoffs, and I'm giving credit to them, because they all played well in this playoffs at some point in the series, right? In a 7-game grinding, grueling series, did any of those guys truly scare you? Not necessarily. And then you look at the depth guys. And I hate to say this, but Pierre Engvall, Alex Kerfoot, Ilya Mikheyev, Andre Kasha, Jason Spezza, Colin Blackwell, David Kampf. They all had their moments of greatness, but in a grinding 7-game series, are those guys going to scare you? No. And you could argue, well, who does scare you? Zach Kassian in Edmonton? To a lesser degree, but maybe when he's hitting you every single time you dump in the puck, that's gonna grind you down and wear you out in a series. And I just don't think Toronto has that. And I think he's done a better job, that being Kyle Dubas, at kind of changing things up this year. But ultimately, they aren't tough enough to play against in the postseason. And that's what this comes down to. That's really, when you have this many years of this kind of thing, yes, it's luck and this and that. But we talk about how the Leafs are so bad in the first round. You look at some teams that have struggled in the first round recently. Look at the Minnesota Wild. They can't get out of the first round. Had they not gotten it a couple years ago, that was always the running joke. Tampa Bay got swept by the Blue Jackets of all teams back in 2019, right? It's hard to get past the first round. You ask a lot of teams around the league, it's tough to get past the first round. And when you think about it, only 8 teams get to the second round of the playoffs. There's 32 teams. So when you consider it in that sense, you're asking for a lot. And that's what ultimately happens. And I think the Leafs, as frustrating as it is, of course, it is so hard to win, especially in the playoffs. And I think the expectations have just been for so many years that they were going to win the Cup. The expectations to win the Cup were the second year of Matthews, Marner, and Nylander. And you can't expect that. And they were already getting the Cup parade ready when Tavares came in. And, I could pull up a tweet. I forget who did this tweet. But basically, I mean, here, let me find it. Now I have to find it because this is the kind of stuff, though, that really, they set the expectations so freaking high when everything went their way, right? This is from John Mestiz, and I hate to call this guy out, but I'm going to do it. It is an absolute shame John Tavares was toiling away on Long Island for so many years. Fair. To some extent, fair. He's finally unleashed, and it's quite something. Okay, he made that back in 2018 when Tavares left. Listen, call me petty, whatever you want. This team hasn't won a playoff round. And I'm about to do it. The Islanders have won more playoff rounds in Scotiabank Arena than the Toronto Maple Leafs have. I didn't want to go down that path, and I know Leaf fans are going to get pissed at that. But am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. No, I'm not. And that's the kind of stuff, though, like... But again, you look at the Islanders, perfect example. You look at some other teams, the 2019 St. Louis Blues. I think over a season, right, the Leafs were a better team than the 2019 St. Louis Blues. But who won the Stanley Cup? The 2019 St. Louis Blues. The New York Islanders, their success, right, going to the conference finals the past 2 years. The Leafs, on paper, have a better team than the Islanders, but when it comes to a 7-game series of grueling hitting and forechecking and that structural game, teams really struggle under that. And I think that's something that you can't, everybody talks about, and I think the Leafs were the prime example of that. The journey, the pioneers of the speed and skill game, and no grit and power. That costed them big time. And I think Dubas has kind of reeled that back a little bit, bringing in guys like Simmons and even guys like David Kampf and stuff like that. But they are still in that spot. And listen, I think at some point the Leafs have to break through. Like, you can't go to the playoffs this many times and not get it done. But when it's in your head that you are 0-10 in Game 7s and haven't gone to a playoff series or a second-round playoff series since 2004, that's tough. It's been 18 years now, and the count continues to click. And I don't know. At some point, it has to break. And I think when I look at this team, going back to the Islanders, they need a guy like when the Islanders were in the late 70s, early 80s, before their cup runs. They needed that piece that got them to that next level, which was Butch Goring. I think the Leafs need a veteran to go in there, not Jason Spezza. I'm talking about like a core player in the top 6 to go in there and remind Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and those guys, maybe not Nylander, whoever's there, you guys are a really good hockey team. And just let it be known that the rest of the league knows you guys are a very good hockey team. And instill that confidence in this group. And I hate to say it, but I think that's where they went and dropped the ball with John Tavares. He was not the right personality for them where they need right now. For what they need right now, Tavares was not the right pick. And I hate to say that because, of course, the Islander fan's going to say Tavares sucks and this and that. And he did have a moment. He scored in Game 6, right? A big goal. But he is not the leader that they need there. They need the guy that's going to come in there and be overly confident and just boasting up the boys. And I think that's where you need that type of player because you have enough guys that are, not to say timid, but like don't have that just moxie, right? They don't have that moxie. I think when I think of the Leafs, they don't have that. And the only guy that really does have that is Jason Spezza, who plays on the 4th line. So if you get a guy, and I'm using that word now, right? Mojo, moxie, they need that type of guy to come in the locker room and tell these guys, listen up. This is how we're going to do things. You're a good hockey team. We're going to win here. We're going to find a way to get it done. And I just don't think they have enough of that in the room yet. And I think that's something that can come internally, whether that's a Marner or Nylander or Matthews. But that's where I come back to. They're going to have to make moves this summer. I mean, I'd say trade Tavares. That's probably not going to happen. Who's going to take Tavares right now? Probably nobody. Maybe Doug Wilson will. So, I don't know. Maybe that's your best bet. But With that aside, I mean, what else do you really do? William Nylander, Kerfoot, Mrazek, and their first round pick, I think, are the assets that they could look at moving. Mrazek's going to be tough. I think you're going to have to trade a draft pick to get rid of Mrazek's contract, kind of like what they did with Patrick Marleau a few seasons ago. That might be on the table. Kerfoot, he's making $3.5 million for the next 2 years. You got to save that salary. You have to find a way to move that. And that might be easier to move than even a William Nylander, who's making just under $7 million per year. So I think the Leafs, I mean, there's going to be a lot of change. A lot of young guys coming in. You're going to see Jack Campbell, Giordano, Lyubushkin, Mikheyev, Spezza, and Blackwell, I think all leaving. I think they just want to change up this room. Mikheyev, of those guys, I think is the most likely to stay. But I think there's going to be a lot of things changing in Toronto. So the Toronto Maple Leafs here in 2022, will they change the narrative in 2023? Let me know what you guys think. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.